like to welcome everybody to the Coaches of the Mouth Show. This is Coach Jeff Williams along with Coach Daryl Fimple in the Mouth, Brent Bender. Special guest from Hootens, Thomas Thrash. Guys, we're going to break down 6A, 7A. Let's start off in 6A. Thomas, let's hit with you. You got defending state champions Greenwood 1, Shiloh 2, Benton 3, Marion 4, Lake Hamilton 5, Mountain Home 6, El Dorado 7, Little Rock Catholic 8, Sheridan 9, Jonesboro 10. Let's start off in the 6A East. And Thomas, it's been Benton's League. Lose a lot of guys. Got the quarterback back, who's Drew Davis, who's unbelievable. Also, new offensive coordinator. So, with Drew Harris coming in, calling plays, Justin Ray leaving. Talk to us, Little Rock Catholic. You know, all they did was just go 9-1 last year in the regular season. Daryl had to remind me of that. Week 10, Marion's been there, hadn't made long runs in the playoffs. El Dorado's interesting. Also, your former coach, Coach Kelly at Sheridan, really has it going on over there also. So, talk to us a little bit about this 6A East.
You know, I think the 6A East comes down to Benton again, obviously. All roads lead through Benton. Then you got Catholic, who had a great regular season last year. Lose to Mountain Home in the first round or the second round. They got a bye. And Marion's got a lot of talent. Sheridan, though, is one of those teams that it's going to be hard to it's Kelly's second year. He's got a returning quarterback, got one of the best players in the state, Zay Stevens. So if you've seen him in person, he's one of the most fun guys to watch. So they're going to find new ways to get him the ball, you know, whether it's screens or get him out in open space. But they didn't stop anybody last year. So either Kelly's going to be in some shootouts 50-60 at halftime, like they were at El Dorado. But El Dorado got a lot of guys coming back. So this team, it's Benton and then everyone else. Yeah. I mean, but Benton's not head and shoulders above everybody else like last year and last 2 years. But you know, there's three: Catholic, Marion, Sheridan. They could all make a play on Benton and you know, push for this conference championship.
Daryl, talk to us a little bit about this 6A East, man.
You know, you got to of course, you got to like Benton. You know, you got Benton, and you got the quarterback back, and you got some tradition there. You know, they defensive line wise, defensively, I think they're really, really good returning back. But here's the thing that I think is, and of course, you got Catholic. Everybody counts out Catholic, and they only won 9 games last year. But I think the dark horse in this one's Marion.
Yeah.
I think the Marion Patriots are the ones that's going to make some noise here, because I think that secondary wise, you know, they got 3 full-time starters back in the secondary, which if you're playing against the Sheridans and Bentons and the people that can throw it down the field, I think that becomes a huge matchup, is how good your secondary can hold up there. Of course, you've got Sheridan and the mad scientists there with like 5,000 yards of offense, but man, they couldn't stop a shadow last year. But they got both tackles back too, Sheridan. So they could make some noise too, but I still think Benton, all roads lead through Benton in this situation in that part. And then you've got athletic teams like El Dorado. You really don't know if they can figure it out, you know, at the quarterback position. You know, they might be in it for the long haul, because they returned 6 on both sides. You know, in that league, you've got a chance, especially. But like I said, I think everybody's chasing Benton, but you know, I think the surprise in that league is going to be Marion.
I forget about Sylvan Hills with Mark Kelly. You know, coming in, they had talent last year too. They just were so bad offensively, but I think that's going to change this year too.
Well, I think so. Mark's another guy. You know, Coach George is going in his 3rd year at Jonesboro. But before I come to you, let's go ahead and bring on Coach Brad Harris from Benton High School.
Thanks for having me on, Jeff. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk some ball with you, my man.
Exactly. So let's look at overall. Hootens got you ranked number 3 overall in the 6A. The coaches poll in the 6A East got you ranked number 1. You got 5 guys back on offense, 3 back on defense. Y'all have been right there. I mean, it's like we talk about it. You've been just dominant all the way through. And getting the playoffs, and you've been one step away from being there, but y'all have dominated the 6A East over the last, for a long time. Talk to us a little about your football team. Obviously, Drew Davis is going to be a senior who has just been a stud the last 2 years. Talk to us a little bit about your offense, and then let's talk about your defense a little bit.
Gotcha, Jeff. Well, they're real proud of us. Their preseason is to get us number 3 and everything. I don't know if we're worthy of that just yet, but man, we graduated a great class last year of 29 seniors, and 6 of those guys signed Division II scholarships. So they make you look like a lot better football coach. You know that, but man, we've been very successful the last couple of years and had a lot of success in the 6A East, winning it back-to-back years and finishing runner-up 3 years ago. And man, we get to the semifinals and we don't play our best game, or we run into a really, really good team. 3 years ago at Greenwood, give them a heck of a game. And then 2 years ago against, Walker White, Little Rock Christian. And this year, Shiloh was a buzzsaw, man. Yeah. They were on fire. They played really well in the semis, and we didn't play as well, and they got us, But I really like the guys that we got coming back this year on offense. Like you said, we got 5 guys coming back off our offensive team that was very explosive. The last 3 years, Jeff, we've averaged a little over 50 points a game. And crazy, man. I never thought I'd coach a team like that or see a team average that when you first start coaching, man. It's a hell of a night for you. But, our guys, that offense is directed by Drew Davis. He'll be back for his 3rd year. Man, Drew is going to be a really good player for us this year again. He's about 6'2.5", maybe 6'3", 200 pounds. He may be 205, 210 by the time season rolls around. He's getting a lot of schools looking at him right now. Most of the Division II schools in the state have offered him. UCA, Arkansas State, some of your Division I's are evaluating him pretty heavy after this good summer he's had. Right now, he's our leading passer. Owns a lot of the quarterback records at Benton already. Still got a senior year to go, man.
Wow.
And but he is a really, really good kid. Going to be a great player for us, and it all starts with him. If you've got a guy that's got 2 years under his belt coming back, that's huge for your offense. And he's had a good summer, real good summer of just camps, but also leading our team. Then we got 2 of his top receivers back from last year, guys that were our number 3, 4 guys as juniors last year, Carson Collett and Will Carter. And those are his dudes, man. They've grown up together. They've been throwing to each other since they were in Pee Wee together, and they're very familiar with each other. They're both mirror images of each other. They're both about 5'10", 5'11", 165 to 75 pounds. Carson is a little bit faster, more explosive. Carson's going to run 4.5, maybe sub 4.5 some. He's got offers from Henderson and Arkansas Tech. His dad, Brad Collett, that played at Henderson and everything. And Carson is explosive, man. He's a lot like the kid we had last year, Maddox Davis. And we feel like he's going to step into that role. Then we have Will Carter, the real fast run. Does a great job, and he's sneaky fast. He's not going to pop that best 40 time, but man, very few people catch him when he gets in the open field. So really excited about his top 2 weapons coming back. We also have another senior, John Curtis Barter, that plays kind of our H-back Y position. Probably 5'11", 200-pound, gritty kid, can get some stuff done in the box, but also a very savvy route runner. So we're excited about him coming in for his senior year. He played behind Bronson Koulis, a kid that signed with SAU this last year. So, we've got a guy that's coming in that can kind of be an enforcer on the edge blocking and also can come into the box. So really like that guy. And then we have another senior that's been a JV guy that we like. He's had a good summer. His name's Corey Anderson. Corey played JV the last 2 years, been a top receiver for us. Has just been stuck behind some guys that were really good, So we think he's going to be a guy that's going to add something to our receiving core. And then we have a sophomore that we really like. He played quarterback for us last year, Easton Snellings. Easton's only about 5'6", 5'7", but he's 165 pounds, and he's that little kid that's hard to catch, man. He's like, you can't touch him in a phone booth. Very savvy, a ball player. He's just that elusive kid. Has the knack to make plays. So we really like him of adding depth into that. Probably even starting. For us as a sophomore. He's got those kind of capabilities. At running back, we're going to break in a new running back. But what we've done, Jeff, is we've taken probably one of our top slot receivers and put him in the backfield, and Bryson Griffiths. We feel like that's going to mesh really well with our style of play this year. Bryson is an edge guy, very fast, explosive kid, catches the ball in the backfield real well. We feel like he's going to be a really good player for us this year. So he'll be our top receiver. our top running back, and then we've got a couple of guys behind him in Brendan Murdoch and C.J. Sellers that are very similar to them. So we got a little bit of depth there. We took a little bit of a hit. We had two running backs actually move this year. The kid that was probably going to be our top running back, T.J. Williams, he moved to the Dallas area. Mom got relocated with a job. We hated to lose him, and then we had a kid that moved out to Boxside also on us. So we lost two, and that always hurts on depth. We've had to move some people around. But then we got two guys coming back on the offensive line that I like. Garrett Pilkington started at center every ball game for us.
Good
He's
player.
about 6'2", 285. Good player. Really like him. He's gotten offered by Hendrix College. Arkansas Tech has looked at him a little bit. Henderson. So like what he's done, man. We may play him at tackle or we may play him at center. We don't know just yet. And then we've also got Madison Hurd, who was a sophomore last year that came in during an injury for us. And probably one of our more athletic linemen last year. Not as big. He's about 6 foot 290. Not quite as tall, but great hands, great feet. So we got two guys there that we really like coming back. And then we've got 4 or 5 other guys that we feel like can fill in those other 3 spots. Some young guys that a couple of sophomores that'll be sophomores, and a couple of guys that'll be juniors or seniors. So that's kind of the meat and potatoes of our offense. Guys coming back now defensively. We graduated a bunch of guys defensively, man. We graduated 8 guys that could play. And the biggest question mark for us this year, Jeff, is our D-line. We played 6 guys last year on the D-line pretty consistently. 5 of them were seniors. 5 of them were really good players. Our 6th guy was a sophomore, Carson Conyers, that we felt really good about. Carson is like the second strongest kid on our team. Was looking forward to him coming back as defensive end, and he hurt his shoulder and had shoulder surgery early this spring. So we don't know exactly when we're going to get him back. So we're going to be playing a lot of smaller guys, youth up front. Avian Beard is probably one of our top candidates. He's about 5'9", 220. Really quick, really explosive kid. Really like his motor, how he plays and everything. He played some last year as a sophomore for us, primarily a JV guy, but he's had a phenomenal offseason. We really like him. And then we've got a sophomore that's going to be a really good player eventually, but he's a sophomore. He's about 6'3", 220. His name is Drake Woodard. You may remember his dad,
Oh, yeah.
Luke Woodard.
Do I remember his dad?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, his dad weighed about 240 and could run the sweep. And I was at Benton one night when I was Eldorado, and he's still running the sweep downhill on it. I remember that guy.
Yeah. I remember him when I was coaching at Arkadelphia, and we rolled into Benton to play them, and that dude was bigger than any kid we had on our defense. But Drake is going to be a phenomenal player for us. He's 6'3", 220, going to be a really good player. We like him. We think he's got a lot of upside, but he's a sophomore, so he's going to learn in the fire really quick against Bryant, North Little Rock, and Parkview. So, but we've got those 2 guys, and we really like those 2 guys. Then we got Dakota Manchek, Jonathan Bianchi. Several other guys are just not as big and physical, quite as big we've been the last couple of years up front, but we're going to get it done. We're going to find a way. Our linebacking core, we got 3 really strong ones that we like. Weston Monson, a junior, 6'3", 190, plays kind of our Sam linebacker, plays in space a lot. Man, he's about a 6'6" wingspan, long, athletic kid, played a lot of minutes last year as a sophomore for us. We think he's got a chance to play college football eventually just because of his measurables. He runs really well. You look at him, he weighs 190 pounds, but he looks like 155. He's long, skinny, but, man, he's got great instincts. A guy in the middle that's going to have to replace Walter Hicks, who's going to OBU, is Bryson Mattia. Bryson's about 6 foot, 210 pounds. We like what he brings to the middle. We feel like he can be a good enforcer for us. And then our other linebacker that'll most likely start for us is Antonio Shelton, another kid that Antonio's about 6 foot, 195, 200 pounds, but he's about a 6'3", 6'4" wingspan, long kid. So we got 2 Sam and Will kids that'll play on the edge, that can get out in the routes, and passing lanes, and hopefully cause some problems for some quarterbacks, Then they'll also come get you in space. So really like those guys. On the back end of our defense, we've got 1 corner coming back, Trey Stewart, that we like. Trey is a little undersized as far as when you look at him, you think, man, I can go get him. He's about 5'8", 165 pounds, but he's going to run 4.5. He's got great cover skills, very twitchy, things like that. We like him. And then we've got another senior that didn't play last year, Messiah Holloway. he had a ACL surgery last year, and we missed him all year. We feel like he could have added depth last year, so he's really stepped into a role coming off that ACL surgery. And then we've got a sophomore that he's about 5'10", 170. So we feel like we've got a good rotation at corner, along with Major Holloway, Messiah's little brother. So we got 4 guys that we really like there. At safety, we've got a kid that tore his knee up last year, Gunnar Deaton. We feel like he could have added depth to us last year, even started. Gunnar this year won the 181 division in state weight meet. He's 5'9", 5'8", 5'9", 175, 80 pounds. Bench 335, and he power cleans about 265. Very quick, explosive kid. May even see him at running back just a little bit. We don't play a lot of kids both ways, but he's a kid that has a running back background. Very twitchy, very physical kid. So we have some packages for him. And then we also have Cordell Payne back from last year that played free safety the first half of the season. And then I got a ankle sprain. Didn't see him as much at the end of the year because of injury. So we feel like we got 2 safeties back that are going to help us out a lot, and then a couple of corners. So there's a lot of pieces to build off of, but a lot of youth that we're also going to play, Jeff.
Yeah, and you're talking about the youth, and I'm sitting here looking at your non-conference schedule, but and a lot of it's this. I mean, you guys have been so successful. Ain't a lot of people calling you to be wanting to play, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking. Obviously, you open up a Bryant, and you're not playing that game at War Memorial this year, are you, or not? I've heard different things.
No, sir. We're playing it at our place this
Yeah.
year, man, and they're making some arrangements right now, and they're talking about bringing extra bleachers in and different seating and opening the track up, letting people stand around, something you don't see at Benton. So I think it's going to be a heck of an environment. I don't know how many people they're going to try to squeeze in here, but it won't be 20, 25 like it's been at War Memorial, but it'll be a heck of an environment. So if you're in the area, man, it'd be a heck of a game to catch. Now, we're going to have to play the University of Bryant, but I mean, we're going to try to do our best, but it's going to be a heck of a game, environment wise.
Well, and y'all have played them probably as well as anybody has throughout the state. Every week I used to watch it and go, well, they might be normal this year, and then come to find out they ain't normal. And y'all had a really good football team.
Yeah.
Then you got Parkview, 3-time defending state champions over there, and Bob's there, and then you got Brad's going over to North Little Rock. Obviously, his reputation. Talk to us a little bit about playing those 3 teams. I mean, those all 3 of them got a chance to win the state championship, and 2 of them are defending state championships. Talk to us a little bit about playing that deal, and then we're getting ready for your league and getting into that, because you're looking at Sylvan Hills with Mark Kelly over there, new coach.
Right.
Kevin's doing great things at Sheridan. Looks like they're getting players, and El Dorado, and obviously Marion and Catholic's all been in the mix there.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about those 3 games, getting you ready for that conference play.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. Brian, it always tests us. They let us know exactly where our weak points are. Last year we got beat 52-40, 2.5 turnovers, Jeff. If we don't turn the ball over, it's a dogfight to the end, and what got us at the end is we got tired. They just wear you down, man. And, that'll probably happen again this year, but, we're going to fight them to the end as best we can. And, that's always a great game for us to start the season. I love it because it lets us know exactly what we need to work on. They find your weakness for you really early. And then we take a week off, and then we've got North Little Rock, and that's a game that we played last year. Clint Reed and I got together and got that one. And Brad being over there, we're keeping that game. It'll be in week 2 of the season, and they're going to be much improved. That. I mean, like you said, there's probably some guys that were not on that roster last year that'll be over there, and Brad does a tremendous job with those guys, man, in the off season, and he'll get those guys going again, man. And, they won't be 0-10 like they were. They were a very athletic 0-10 team last year. They gave us fits early in the year. But they're going to be really good. And then we had to pick up Parkview this year. We had Harding Academy on the schedule and had some conflicts with the scheduling, and they didn't want to play us. And, we just decided to go a different direction. Both of us did. And we didn't have a lot of choices. And Parkview had that Melissa, Texas game. And, it's hard to find teams in the middle of a contract, So Bobby and I got together and we're like, hey, would you be interested in coming to Benton? I'd rather play those guys than have an off week, and they're going to be really good. Like you said, they're 3-time defending 5A state champs, and there's not going to be let down there. You know that. I mean, Bobby Boulding's not going to let that happen. And very physical team, a lot coming back, so they're going to test us, and we're going to find out where we're at. At the end of that non-conference slate, we're going to have three very physical, very tough-minded teams, and that's what we're going to need to get us ready for the 6A East.
Well, it is. Let's talk about the 6A East a little bit, and you kind of elaborate. I mean, a lot of changes in this conference, really. And you've been in the West, you've been in the East. You're kind of the ones that go back and forth, but you've been in
Yeah.
the East. A lot of, with Mark and Kevin in his second year, Marions were growing their program, second year at Catholic. Talk to us about the changes and kind of your expectations and
Right.
where do you see the 6A East and in the bottom line, and let's just tell the truth here. The 6A East in the playoffs hadn't fared as well against the West, but I feel like this year
Right.
there could be some changes here a little bit.
Well, Jeff, I tell you what, I don't mean to, I don't want this to sound arrogant or anything, but I feel like the last couple of years we've kind of run the show in the East, and everything.
Yeah.
We felt like we were the better team. This year, I think it's wide open, Jeff.
Yeah.
I really do. I think we're going to be competitive again. But I mean, you look at our schedule, you got Jonesboro, and I'm going to tell you what, those guys, they've got some dudes up there, man. They look the part, and they do a good job up there. Coach George and them do a heck of a job. He's getting that program rolling again. We got to go up there in week 4. I mean, I'm looking at our schedule going, crap, we may be 0-4 going into the year, or something like that. But they're going to be really good. Then we got Sylvan Hills, which Coach Kelly he's breathing a breath of fresh air into that program, I'm sure. And you're going to have to defend the hurry up, fast paced offense and see how those guys handle it. So I think Sylvan Hills will be recharged this year. And then we've got Sheridan, who Kevin Kelly's down there, and he's doing the same thing to that program. So I think you're going to see a better team there. They've got a big offensive lineman. Actually got 2 big offensive linemen down there. And that running back, if you have not seen Isaiah Stevens down there, you're missing something, man. Mm-hmm. You guys need to go check that kid out. He's a baller, man. He can catch it. He can run it. I'm sure he could play defense if Kevin needed him to. But that dude, we voted him as the best player in 6A East last year as a sophomore.
Yeah. Kevin ain't playing that guy on defense, man. You know better than that.
He might get tired. He'd get him too tired doing that. So, but they're going to be much improved. And then El Dorado, I think El Dorado's a team that you're going to see a jump out of. Chris Hill has got those guys going again. We saw them in some 7-on-7. They come to some weight meets, man. They look good now. They're going to look like some of the old El Dorado teams physically. They're strong. They're big up front. And Chris is going to play a hard-nosed brand of football down there with them. And then we've got Catholic. Catholic is always Catholic. They're going to be right in the mix of everything. West Memphis has been on a little bit of a downturn, but I tell you what, I like Vincent Newton, man. I think if he's going to get in there and work those kids and grind them, and I think he's going to make them a better football program there. And then Marion, I think Marion's a team that could shock some people, man. Last year we went into there and we were on fire, and they caught a buzzsaw with us. But this year they'll be ready for us. They got some really talented players. Their skill guys may be as good as anybody that's in the league, in 6A. They got to put it together at the end of the year. They've had some teams where they probably should have made runs, and I'm sure you could talk to Lance and he'd tell you that. But last year, I really felt like they'd have a chance to make a run in the playoffs. They were very talented, good up front, had some good skill guys. So I see a very balanced conference this year where it's going to be a dogfight each week, I think, and to be honest with you, I love that. I love that we're going to have to go into that. We're going to fight our tails off for 4 quarters, and, maybe that makes us a better team late in the year.
Well, and no doubt it will, and you always do that. Well, let's get it. My whole preseason last question I always give everybody here is, we're talking about your non-conference conference. You got to stay healthy and things got to fall your way. What does the Benton Panthers have to do to get to War Memorial?
Man, I tell you, I think we're going to have to be a very explosive offense. I think we're an offensive-led team this year. And I really think we've got the components here to do that.
Yeah.
We've got the nucleus of those guys. The biggest thing, though, I think, we're going to have to build some depth on our defensive line with some young guys. That's where we're going to struggle early in the season, Jeff. We are very thin up front. We're very young up front on the defensive line. And as well as I do that if you're not good up there, man, you get pushed around. People just go, hey, you can't stop the run. We're going to keep running it. So we're going to have to be very creative with some of our alignments and maybe stunts and blitz and things like that. But we're going to have to develop some guys up front for us to make a run this year. I think the offense will be there, but we're going to have to be really good on defense again.
Well, I lied to you. I got one more question.
Okay.
You had some staff movement a little bit, and
I
talked
did.
to us a little bit about, because those are the factors people don't see. That's a
Right.
huge deal. Talk to us, offense coordinator and whole 9 yards.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody knows Justin Ray's been our offensive coordinator since I've been here for 9 years, and Justin had a unique opportunity to go to work for his brother outside of coaching, making some really good money in a company. And Justin's a big family guy, loves his brother, loves working with his brother, and all that. And man, they just made him an offer. It was hard for him to turn down, and I get it, I understand it. I hate losing him, man. He's one of the most competitive people that I've ever met, been around, love him to death, and wish him the best. But we have made a couple of changes. I've promoted Drew Harris from receivers. He's going to coach our quarterbacks and coordinate our offense. And he and Justin have worked hand in hand for the last 5 years, and Drew's ready for that step.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. He's grown up around it, being around me as a coach, but also when he went to OBU, he learned a lot of ball from Todd Knight, Jay Derby, Shockley, all those guys. And man, he's ready to coordinate offense, and I have a lot of faith in him. But we also hired what we feel like is a really good receivers coach in Davion Williams. Davion has been at Prescott for the last 14 years as a receivers coach. And I don't know that you know this little fun fact about him, Jeff. He's old Go Devil too.
Oh, look out, man! Look out.
Yeah. So we had to bring some more purple and gold into the mix a little bit, But he's an old Go Devil that's been at Prescott for 14 years. The last 4 years, he's been their offensive coordinator for Brian Glass. So I'm pumped to get him on board. He's going to coach our receivers and help Drew with the offense. And I don't know that we'll miss a lot as far as the schemes and things like that. We'll miss the relationship that Justin Ray had with all of the kids and everything, because he was a relationship guy, But I think Davion's going to get in there and build those same relationships and work. And but we're excited about the little bit of a tweak that we had, late in the year to get a guy of Davion's caliber to get to Benton with us, and he's pumped to be here, and we're excited that he's here with us. So a little bit of change, like you said, a lot of people don't know those things that you see, and you see a little bit of a different style of offense, and you wonder why they changed. Well, Drew's going to bring a few things to the table that we didn't have, but we're going to pretty much be the same. We're going to try to hurry up, tempo, run you, and throw the football around the best we can. And we're going to turn it over to Drew Davis every chance we can, too.
That's not a bad option right there.
No doubt. No doubt.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on, man. And I'm looking at your non-conference. I can tell you right now, every week you'll be a top 10 game of the week with that lineup, man. Unbelievable. And then a lot of your conference, and we'll have you on. Hey, good luck to you, and we'll be checking your work and see you down the road, buddy.
All right, man. I appreciate everything you do for high school football, Jeff, man. Anytime, call me.
Well, you can see, Mouth, I got to ask you, we just heard from Coach Harris. Benton's got the quarterback back, got to replace some guys up front and some things like that. What are you seeing in this 6A East?
I'm seeing it's going to be Benton. They're much better than Drew. And it all starts with the quarterback. I know this is going back to last year. I saw them get off the bus at Harding Academy. They were scary looking when they got off the. They were beautiful people. They were beautiful humanoids when they got off the bus, and that just carried through all year for them. So Benton, they're the teams to beat. Do not sleep on Little Rock Catholic, because last year they were shocking. I won't say shock. They won 9 games, and it snuck up on you last year.
Yeah, nobody knew it till week 10. How many games
didn't realize
yeah.
They're not, because they were winning a lot of close games, and you're thinking, oh goodness, El Dorado's thinking we should have beat them. You didn't. Then you got the mad scientist at Sheridan, Kevin Kelly. He's in his lair right now, just drawing up stuff, and if he could ever get a defense, he would be deadly, but because he's been in so many 60 to 55 games, if he could ever learn,
There's not a lot of defensive coordinators running over there for that job.
yeah, if
You're going to give him the ball in the 50 every time? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to punt it from our. Yeah, we're not
if
going to have
he
a
could
punter.
hold people
I mean, God
to
bless
42,
America.
he'd be deadly.
Yeah.
What I
yeah.
think now, though, their defense will be just good enough that it'll be their offense will stay in the game longer and put up more points. So I think they're going to break every offensive record there is, this year. I think it's going to be crazy.
Well, it's interesting, and like I said, I'm with everybody here. I think Benton's there. You can't, Catholic's just been steady. Marion is a dark horse, but look out for Coach Kelly and Sheridan. El Dorado is another one. So I think they're probably a year away a little bit, but they can make. Coach Hill knows what he's doing over there, obviously.
And you can't. Y'all said it already. Mark Kelly at Sylvan Hills.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
There's another great offensive coach, and he'll have Sylvan
Who
Hills.
won a state championship how many years ago? Was that 5?
At Searcy? Yes.
Yes.
If you win a state championship at Searcy, you've done something.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see how he does. He'll bring a winning culture with him to Sylvan Hills from Conway.
I
plays
gonna say
fast.
this. I think Sylvan Hills makes the playoffs this year.
I think
I
so.
would agree with that.
Bam.
I think I'm putting
Yeah, I
them
said
in.
bam.
They get 6.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean,
Hey,
they get
yeah.
6. It's not
They
like
might
they're.
finish 6, but I think they get in this year.
I would agree with that.
Man, this league is full of offensive.
Yeah.
It's going to be a light show every night, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, hey, this league, you know what this league is? This is a
12.
visor league right here.
What?
The
You gotta have a visor, call some plays. Yeah, I mean, you're play calling. I mean, their play sheets got to be God bless America. How big that thing is, except for Coach Kelly, he doesn't even have a play sheet. He just kind of draws stuff up as he goes and uses one word. Did he do that with you, Thomas? Did you just have one word to call a play?
Yeah, we have name plays, but then he could attach
Yeah.
numbers to it. So he'd go like Twister X5Z2.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different play.
Exactly. I talked to that guy about how he called plays one time. It was the greatest
We would
experience I've
run
ever had in my
plays
life.
that we
One
never
word.
ran in practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like seriously, but they would work because it would be just one different play. One thing changes
Yeah.
and the whole play changes.
It's a visor league, baby. It's a visor league.
Well, let's go over. Let's head over to the little bit of a visor league also. Titletown in the 6A West. Greenwood Bulldogs. Before we get into this, let's go ahead and bring on defending state champion Coach Chris Young from Greenwood.
Good to be here.
Well, it is. Let's get right into it. I mean, state champions last year, everything. I mean, you guys dominated. We're sitting there. I'm looking at stats, 56, 54 points a game, gave up 14, which that skewed a little bit because of, late scores and things like that on your second unit. But let's talk about you going back into it. You guys are preseason number one, something you're used to. You've been there for 100, about every year you're going to be ranked 1 or 2. But obviously, you guys looking at 6A, you guys are obviously are the favorite. You got 8 guys back on defense, 8 guys back on offense, 3 on defense. But it all starts with your offense and Kane Archer. Talk to us a little bit about your team. It's a different team. Got to see you in team camp. And let's talk about your offense first. I mean, you got 8 guys back. Got to feel good about it. Then we'll talk about your defense. Let's talk about that offense.
Two different stories, like you said. Offensively, excited with the group. We had a great year last year. Got most of those guys back, 8 guys back. Starts with Kane, had as good of a year as I think a high school quarterback's ever had in state Arkansas. Just his completion percentage, the way he took care of the balls. I think he was 57 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 82% completion percentage. Man, he's the real deal. He's just a combination of, a really intelligent, unbelievably accurate, and then great with the ball in his hand. He can make plays running. So you combine all those and you get a special kid. He's a Gatorade Player of the Year in Arkansas last year and certainly deserved it. The big thing is we don't just have him. We got 6 linemen back on the offensive line that got a lot of experience that we're really excited about. We think we're going to be as good up front as we've been in a long time. We got 3 receivers back that started in the state championship game. A ton of experience with those guys. And then we've got a sophomore receiver, Braxton Cannon, we think may be the next great Greenwood receiver. So both our running backs are back from last year. So a lot of experience back and excited about that group.
Well, and let's just go on the other side. I mean, Coach Gill over there, Broyles winner. I mean, being a head coach, I mean, his resume speaks for itself. Always going to have a solid defense out there. He's got a little work to do. You got three guys back on the defense. I thought was kind of an unsung hero for you guys that's overlooked because your offensive numbers, but was outstanding last year. Just shut people down.
Yeah,
Talk,
he's
talk to us.
got
He's got a
he's
little
got a
work
full
cut out.
time job this year. No, he does an unbelievable job, and I know he's going to figure it out. But we got a lot of unanswered questions right now. Like you said, we've got three guys back with any varsity minutes last year. Even our twos last year were mostly seniors, and graduate all those guys. So. I think we started one sophomore a couple games last year. At team camp the other day, we had six sophomores starting,
Wow.
so that's not normal at Greenwood. But there's some talented young guys. We got a few guys that played in JV last year, so we've got some pieces. We just got to kind of make the puzzle fit, and Coach Gill does a great job with that. He's not set on this defense or that defense. He's going to fit our defense based on the personnel. And we know we're going to have some challenges early on. We start with Bentonville West first game, and really good coach team, especially offensively. And it's going to be a challenge. We're going to have some growing pains, but we think competition is going to make everybody better.
Well, no doubt. Let's get in that non-conference. You talk about you open up Bentonville West, and then Northside. Traditionally, y'all been playing them for years, and then obviously you got Harbor. So I mean, all 7A West schools right there. Talk to us a little bit about getting you prepared for this 6A West. It has been really dominant the last few years. I mean, their playoff records speak for itself, and it's going to be a competitive league. But talk to us a little bit about that non-conference, how it's preparing you for that 6A
Yeah,
West.
we like playing good teams. We start off scrimmage in Fayetteville, and
Yeah.
then they'll embarrass you if you're not prepared. And then Bentonville West, like I said, offensively, man, they're a really good football team. Coach Pratt does a really good job with those guys. They got athletes on both sides of the ball. They were young last year and got a lot of those guys back this year. Northside and Harbor both with new coaches, new staffs. That's going to be a challenge because we're not sure what we're going to see. I've heard a lot of exciting stuff about both those programs. I hear a lot about Harbor and the job that new coach is doing down there. A lot of excitement in that program, and the success they've had at the junior high level. They've got good players, so it's going to be a challenge. But that's why we play those guys. We want to figure out the areas we need to get better in, and I think all three of those teams will be a challenge for us.
Well, let's get into the conference. I mean, right out of the chute, you get the team that everybody thinks is really going to challenge you this year, Shiloh Christian. You get them right out of the chute, and then you sit there and you look at, Lake Hamlin's going to be better. Southside's going to be better than what their second time through the league. Understand it. Van Buren, Russville, and Mountain Homes. They've really got their program going. Y'all seen them in the semis last couple of years. That league, when they go to the playoffs 3 through 6, that first round, they've been winning. And
Yeah.
so I don't see anything changing with that. But talk to us a little bit about the league and what the differences are from this year and last year, you think?
Yeah, I think from top to bottom, the league's going to be improved. I mean, all the way through. But you said it, Shiloh Christian, great football team last year, very, very well coached football program. They got a lot of guys back, and I think they've been a state championship game 6 years in a row like we have. And they just do an outstanding job coaching wise. And when you combine that with all the experience and all the talented players they have, I mean, they're going to be right on the top of our conference for sure. But then you mentioned it, Lake Hamilton, Coach Gillern does a great job there. Van Buren, Mo Henry is, they've got guys in the junior high. They've really dominated the last couple of years of their junior high. So we know they're going to be up and coming. Mount Home, Steve does a wonderful job there. Their program, I think if you look over the last 5 years, that's probably the most improved program in 6A. So there's going to be challenges throughout our schedule. Like you said, we're so focused right now on Bentonville West because we know what challenge that's going to be. I hadn't had time to get scared on the other teams.
I understand that completely. Well, let's get overall and state-wise, and you know it as well as anybody. I mean, you know how to get to War Memorial. Y'all done it 12 times and won it 12 times and been there 1,000, it seems like. You know the steps to get there. Looking at the landscape, I'm looking at the east a little bit. Benton has been there, and they've got great players. Sheridan, Coach Kelly, looks like that, their program, he's kind of getting that deal. Marion Catholic, and then you get the 6A West. Obviously, Greenwood's going to fall at the top a lot of times. What do you see in this 6A this year overall in the state?
Yeah, it's hard for us because we don't really cross over with those
Yeah.
teams on the other side of the state. Obviously, Benton, they do a tremendous job. Got great athletes, have a great program there, very, very successful. What Coach Kelly did at Sheridan last year, turned that program around in such a short time. You know, he was a possession away from us playing them in the second round of the
Yeah.
playoffs last year. Done a great job. I'll tell you a funny story. Coach Gillerin called me the other day. You won't believe this. They had a 7-on-7 tournament at Lake
Oh,
Hamilton.
whoa, 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 whoa! What we doing over there? That boy,
And coach,
coach.
they played Sheridan in the finals, and Tommy Gillerin beat Kevin Kelly in the 7-on-7. So you never know what's going to happen in high school football when you got Lake Hamilton winning 7-on-7 tournament. But you know, I know Sheridan will be much improved and has a lot of guys back, and obviously Coach Kelly, not anybody's won as many games as that guy has. So they're going to be right there at the top. But it's fun, you know, playing
Yeah.
different teams. We hadn't played Sheridan in years. Marion, I've heard good stuff about them. You know, Little Rock Catholic has been good the last few years. So I think there's going to be a lot of parity throughout the state, and that's good for football.
Well, it looks like maybe this is y'all's last go around for 6A for a little while. And congratulations to everybody in 5A. Greenwood will be in 5A next year, possibility. So, and I've talked to some of the defense coordinators in 5A, and they're not real fired up about it, but that's okay.
Be good
Well,
to get back to some of those 5A guys. You know, we used to play in that
oh,
league
yeah.
and been out a few years. So, you know, it'd be good to get that rivalry with Alma and Harrison and Farmington and some of those guys. Morrilton, we had some great games. So, look forward to it.
Well, we'll worry about that next year, and you got your work cut out this year. Well, Coach, man, as always, you know, you guys got a lot of big games. You're going to be in one of our top 10 games a week, about every week. A lot of times we'll have you on. We'll be checking your work, and good luck to you down the road.
I appreciate you.
Well, obviously, guys, and I'm going to start with Daryl on this one a little bit. 6A West, you know, Greenwood, Shiloh's right there. You got them ranked number 2, Thomas, and we'll get to you in a second. Mountain Homes, 2 semifinal runs. Tommy Gillerin feels like they're a lot better. Fort Smith Southside, watch out for them. Didn't make the playoffs last year. Feel like they can get in. Van Buren, Russellville, and Siloam Springs is another one. I think Coach Lockridge in his second year, they got a chance to make some improvement there also. But Daryl, it starts at Titletown over at Greenwood, loaded up Mr. Thrash, and got some holes on defense. Got to fix those a little bit. Talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, especially on their defensive line. You know, they only got one returning starter there, but it's Greenwood.
Yeah.
All right, we just even cookie cutter, baby. We just cookie cutter people out there. Still got Champ Davis at wide receiver, Kane Archer, so explosive offensively. I mean, you're looking at, I mean, literally those dudes averaged 55 points a game.
I know.
I mean, 55 points
That's
a game.
actually really a half.
Yeah, you got to think some of them they didn't even reach the fourth quarter. I mean, Archer threw for almost 3,500 yards, and heck, the guy never even touched the fourth quarter.
No, not close.
I mean, yeah, not even close sometimes. I mean, just because Coach Young's a nice guy, but by doing this, as the mad scientist would say, the backups all got reps. I mean, it's unbelievable. So he took a sophomore that got reps in a meaningful game, third, fourth quarter, and now that guy's ready to go, and we're just going to plug him in, and nobody's going to know his name until he has 100 tackles.
Your backup quarterback has 1,000 yards passing.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy how they just keep building and building and building. But once again, it all leads back to their culture at Greenwood. You know, it's all about winning. And once again, you know, Shiloh, same kind of thing. Shiloh's, you know, right in the mix. You know, they got to run the ball against Greenwood to, you know, stay in games like that. But, you know, these guys are just kind of so intertwined. It's almost like we said earlier, like if you get the second seed and get away from them, it's almost better for you, you know, to have them slip up on you. But, man, I think Greenwood's just a machine in this league. And like I said, Shiloh. And Jeff's right on the south side. You know, one thing Southside could do is they could score last year. You know, you're hoping that continues on, maybe defensively get some stops here or there, but you know, they could be the dark horse out here. Lake Hamilton's always in the mix. Mountain Home, guys.
Yes.
Mountain Home. I don't know. Have they made the statue yet? Because that guy
it's in the process.
I mean, it's got to be in the process. I mean, the last time we talked about Mountain Home and football was in the 90s, for God's sakes. I mean, it's been a long time, and they were right on the cusp, and he's done an amazing job there. But once again, I think Greenwood's just head and shoulders above everybody.
I agree. Thomas, your thoughts?
It's Greenwood's to lose. Obviously, with Kane Archer, everything revolves around him. But you got to remember that he's also got a 4-year starter. Cody Taylor, one of the linemen, has started every game as a freshman. And so he's actually started more games than Kane. And they've got 3, or actually almost 4 guys on the line returning the starters. Their defense is not going to be as good, which is great for the offense. Because if they can keep the score relatively close in the second half.
And play more.
Yeah,
That's true.
they're going to play more. You're going to get more passing yards. I mean, Kane Archer threw 57 touchdowns and 56 incomplete passes.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. But you got to remember, Shiloh's right there. Y'all remember week 4 last year? Shiloh had the ball driving to take the lead, and they got to the 30-yard line with as time on their last drive. I mean, that was a close game week 4. Even the state championship, it was close early on. Greenwood pulled away in the second half. But Shiloh is right there, and Shiloh knows how to win in December, November. They're used to playing in it. So this is kind of Shiloh's farewell tour for the 6A.
It is. This is it.
This is it. This is their last 6A. All they got to do is make the playoffs and move to 7A. But they've got a bunch of seniors. And if you remember, Greenwood's last loss was to Stillwater, Oklahoma, who was coached by Barnard at Shiloh Christian. So he's beaten them. He was their last loss.
Yeah.
And so I say the last. I think it was. I'm hopefully that's correct. But yes, and so he's a great coach at Shiloh, and then Mountain Home is just. I mean, Mountain Home's it's so much fun to watch, see what Aries doing, and then Lake Hamilton, you got Gillerin just wins over there.
A side note for Shiloh. New defense coordinator Clarence Hawley, former head coach at UAM's coming over from Oklahoma, legendary defensive guy. It was Arkansas Tech. Everybody knows who he is. He's coming over as defensive coordinator, and he does some things that can really confuse you and does an outstanding job. So that's going to be interesting. Mountain Home, and like I said, Southside, I think is going to be in the playoffs.
Well, he's probably going to confuse those. He's not going to confuse the Bulldogs.
No.
But he might
What's your
confuse the
thoughts?
rest of them.
Yeah, what are your thoughts here, Mouth, in this 6A
My
West?
thoughts. I was talking to Coach Dameron last week from Southside, and he said he's going to be better.
Yeah.
He's going to be much better. But he said our league's going to be much better.
Yeah.
That Van Buren's going to be better. Russellville could be better. He said Coach Lockridge going into his second year at Siloam, they're going to be much improved. Tommy Gillerin's Tommy Gillerin. Yeah. Mountain Home, what they do there is phenomenal. And Shiloh, and Greenwood's Greenwood. And the quarterback from Greenwood has been playing forever, it seems like. He seems like he's been there has he been a starter since 9th grade, Thomas?
No, he came in as a backup, and he was a backup.
But Kane Archer's been there forever. And I just like watching Greenwood because Greenwood is a machine.
So they execute.
Fit and pop, fit in a piece of the puzzle. They execute what they do. They're just fun to watch.
They are fun to watch. All right, Thomas, your 6A is like 5A. Is Greenwood the head and shoulders above everybody?
It's Greenwood's to lose, and really look out for Kane Archer to have a major season this year. And if you hadn't seen him play, you need to go watch him. He's fun. And I'd say the best chance to go see him is week 4 at Shiloh when the Shiloh comes to Greenwood.
Well, Daryl, your thoughts right to wrap up his 6A?
Oh, well, it's Greenwood. And then everybody else, the state runner-up trophy's not a bad way to end the year, man. Because I don't know how to put it to you any other way, you know. There's only one of those given, too.
No, there's no doubt. Well, and I'm with you. This 6A is interesting, and Thomas and you guys hit it. You know, Shiloh's there, new look. You know, Lake Hamilton, but you just look at Greenwood. Even though Coach Gill is going to get their defense right, they're going to get turnovers, and I'm with you. All right, let's move on to 7A. And this is interesting, and a lot of moving parts here in this summer in old 7A. Oh my gosh, a lot of moving parts going on in this whole deal. And we're going to start off in the 7A Central. Hold on, lost Daryl. We're going to start off in the. Hold on.
Lost me.
There's
I'm
back.
sorry.
Yeah, well, there you go. You ran off on me. We're
Had
going
to-
to start off in the 7A Central here
Like right
with
now?
defending state champions, Brian Hornets. I mean, those guys are loaded to bear. Coach Sanders is unbelievable. Coach James coming in his third year. PA, Little Rock Christians, one I think that have improved. The only thing I question is their depth. Cabot's got a quarterback. Coach Reed does a great job. We're going to hit North Little Rock Charging Wildcats with Brad Bolding coming back. Little Rock Central, Coach Robinson's doing a good job. They've got a good young quarterback coming. And I tell you, Little Rock Southwest last year, I thought was one of the teams that really, and they only won 2 games, but they were in games. I thought a lot of improvement. Let's go start with you, Daryl, in this 7A Central. You're familiar with it. Talk to us a little bit about Bryant Conway and you're the Charging Wildcats right there.
Well, Bryant, once again, until they lose that front on defense, I still don't know how you move those dudes. Questions at quarterback is probably the biggest thing. You know they're going to be able to run the ball. You know they had the kid that was sophomore last year that came off. It was the third head of the monster. And the biggest thing about Bryant too is they stay away from turnovers. If you watch it and they get in the turnover game, they're very solid and up front. They've got 7 on offense and 7 on defense returning from a amazing team last year. Then they added a couple transfers, which absolutely help you. Yeah, I think Lindsay had something to do with that over there at the Lindsay department over there. But you know how our guy is; he's about winning too. But Bryant, it's phenomenal the run that they're on. It's one of those things that they literally have just built a monster there. Both sides of the ball, and Coach Sanders has done a great job because it's harder to maintain than it is to get there. And he's done a phenomenal job of maintaining that and even growing it a little bit. Of course, Conway, you got 2 humongous tackles back. You got a quarterback that played quite a bit last year for him. That's kind of waited his turn, which is unheard of nowadays. And I'm talking about even in high school, which is unheard of, waiting for your spot. And I think they look for big things for them. I think the most important thing for Conway is can they run the football? Even when they have to run the football. I think that they have to, get drives that are longer than, 4 or 5 plays, especially to compete against, your Bryants in this league. And then, of course, you got Cabot breaking in a new quarterback, a new kind of system there. Pulaski Academy's not going anywhere. They've got questions at quarterback too. But Coach Lucas and them, it's one of those things that they know how to win. They showed that they could compete in this league last year. Everybody kept talking about depth. Heck, every time I watched them, the other team was cramping, which is amazing to me. I mean, the other team was cramping. You're thinking, hey, PA's got these guys going both ways and the whole 9 yards. And like I said, it's just a machine there. Little Rock Christian is tough. And let me tell you, man, there's one thing that I know, buddy. This is the truth, too. We're under construction over here, okay? We passed millage. We brought back the golden child. Brad is back in the building. All right. The construction is working. I'm going to tell you this, too, about the Charging Wildcats right now. Offensively, I don't know how many points we could score. But defensively, we got some freaks over here, man. I mean, it's going to be a freak show. I mean, honest to goodness, there's going to be some hurt feelings. If we can score about 12 points, I think we might have a chance because defensively, we got some dudes. I think that Brad is, immediately, I've never seen kids firsthand in about a 6-month period completely change their bodies. It is unbelievable what they do in the weight room, and our kids are excited, fired up. Heck, man, Brad's even got our administration fired up, man. They're probably going to show up at football games this year. The whole town's fired up. I mean, we've already sold all of our reserved seats. The mayor's in trouble if it comes to a vote because I think Brad's going to win the vote on the mayor's race here. But I look for this to be a really competitive league. But man, I still think Brian is just so good, and it's going to take a heck of a performance from somebody to try to knock those guys off.
Thomas, let's get in this Central.
All roads lead through Bryant. Adding TJ Hodges from Mark Tree, the 4-star running back, is not a bad pickup. And then Ja'Cory Smith, who's was my favorite linebacker at Parkview, one of the best in the state. You know, already to a team with 8 all-conference guys returning and 2 all-state guys, you add those 2 guys in the mix. I mean, they're just but Conway, can they get over the hump now? This is Buck James' 3rd year. He's been in the weight room for 3 years, and it was 3 years at Bryant before he won his first state championship. So is this the year that Conway finally gets out of the semifinals? You know, they've been in the semifinals 5 straight years. You know, can they get over the hump? You know, in PA and Little Rock Christian, they're both going to be about the same, I think. PA's William Sabota moves. They take a 1,000-yard receiver, move him to quarterback. So essentially, you know, you're taking one of your best receivers and moving positions. Can he get it done on the offense and learn that offense? We'll see. But yeah, Conway, Little Rock Christian, Cabot, you know, they're all right there. And North Little Rock building the largest logoed midfield. Yeah. Are they going to add? Because I think it's illegal to have. You can't block that many lines, yard lines. So
we don't care. We don't care about rules. Rules are overrated, buddy. Dogtown, man.
So they're going to have like shadow lines on that logo. It goes from the 30 to 30. It's the largest in the country. That's going to be so awesome.
Yeah, I think our buddy or one of our guest pickers, old Bill Elmore, had something to do with
He did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we brought the Hall of Famer of turf in. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, let's do this before I go to you, Mouth, on the 7A Central. Let's bring on our old buddy, old Coach Buck James from Conway.
Hey, Jeff, I appreciate you guys having me on, bro. I can hear you. I can't see you.
Well, let's run into this deal right here. Hootens got you guys ranked number 4 overall in the state in 7A. Coaches poll, 7A Central got you guys ranked number 2. Let's get into it, recap a little bit. I mean, you're going into your 3rd year, a lot of off-season changes, new offense coordinator, things like that. But where are we at now? I mean, Buck James has been here 3 years. Where are we at as far as, you know, strength and things like that, what you always come in and build a program at? Where are we at in that part of what's your football team going to look like this year?
Well, we're stronger. You know, I think we've got, you know, some guys that belong in 7A football. I think we've got some guys that have worked hard. We've got you know, offense of 8 returning starters. Defensively, we've only have 3 or 4 guys that played last year coming back. But, you know, it's sort of like Tiger Woods when, you know, he started out pretty good and then he had to go back and retool his swing. And that's sort of what we're doing now. We have to retool what we're doing. We got both new offense and defensive coordinator. We have 5 new coaches. You know, we've started back over and, you know, we're trying to get to the level that we want to get to. I mean, what we've done the last 5 years at Conway is we've been to the semifinals, but in 3 of those years, we got beat on the last play of the game. And, you know, one of them was a blowout to Bryant where it was 28-0 before Conway even really got the ball. But the rest of those years, it came down to a call, a play, a made play or missed play that's kept us from playing for a state championship. And we have to do some things differently to get better at what we're trying to do.
Well, let's jump into it a little bit. Your non-conference schedule. I mean, you got Jonesboro, you're going to Benton, got to go to Bentonville. Team beat you in the semifinals. You beat early in the year. And then a tough 6A Marion team. A lot of people got them at the top of the 6A East. How hard is it for you to get games, number 1, number 2? I mean, does this thing set you up to get you ready for that tough 7A Central?
Well, I think so. And, you know, it could be a lot tougher. It could be a lot easier, too. And it's hard to get games now, and especially at big schools. But it could be that we're traveling a long ways. And, you know, I'm glad. I appreciate the guys playing us that play us. You know, I feel like, you know, talking to Jody and stuff about, you know, what they do at Bentonville, this is a playoff game for free. You know, you know, they're trying to get their program restarted at Jonesboro. They're, you know, Marion's got, you know, probably more Division I athletes than anybody in the state. And, you know, they expect to do well in their conference. But the Bentonville game sticks out to you because it's, you know, it's a semifinal playoff or a state championship game in week 3. And that's what you want. You want to play good people. And, you know, when that game's over with, it means nothing. I think Conway's probably won that game like 4 out of the last 5 years, or maybe even 5 out of the last 5 years. And, and then come around and those guys are in the finals and Conway's sitting at home. And so, that game doesn't mean a lot other than where are you? What do you got to do? And Jody and those guys have done an unbelievable job of coaching their kids from start to finish, and they peak at the right times of the year. It's something that we can learn as a staff. It's something that we can learn as a program. Our culture has got to be better, and that you look culture up in the dictionary and, you try to figure out how that's going to fit with football, but we're not there. We're not there 7 through 12. We've got to change some things. We've got to improve on some stuff. We've got to be well financed at this level. And there's a lot of things that go into football that's got to be fixed. And, there's only so much the football coach can do. It's only so much the football players can do. You've got to have tremendous administration. You've got to have tremendous support from your community. You've got to have people that are willing to help fund and help promote and help build your program. And, if you look at it, that's what schools are doing. I mean, that's what communities are doing. There was a time in the day when we were young coaches where every school was identified by their football program or their football coach and, their school. And everybody's got good school. It's hard to have good football. And, the band feeds off of it. The cheerleaders feed off of it. The culture in that high school feeds off of it. And we have got to do a better job of getting our kids ready to play at the highest level week in and week out and peak at the right time of the year.
Well, and you hit that, and let's get into this 7A Central. I mean, and obviously Bryant always gets brought up because they've had a lot of success. You had a lot to do with that, and Quad's obviously continued. But you're sitting there looking at your conference. I mean, we talked about it. Little Rock Christian looks like they've made a step to 7A. Don't know about their depth, but they're 22, can play with anybody. PA's in there. Scott Reed's track record at Cabot. Brad Bolding back at North Little Rock, they're getting guys. They went from 40 guys to 100. It's unbelievable. And then, you look at Southwest, who went 2-9 last year, but I thought they were much improved. Little Rock Central looks like they got some a good quarterback coming and putting pieces together. Do you see much difference in this 7A Central? I mean, it's a tough physical league with great athletes and great coaching, and it has been. What's your take on this 7A Central Conference?
Well, there's 6 teams that make the playoffs, and that means there's going to be some really good football teams that finish 5th and 6th. Mm-hmm. And, year in, year out. And well-financed, Brad and all of us are friends, but Brad's the perfect guy for that job. I mean, we could sit here and have a show on that, but that guy has done some incredible things. And, he's the perfect guy for that job. I've said that many times, and, he's re-sparked it. But, the same things they fired him for, the same things they hired him for. And, I don't understand, but this community needs good football. They need good school. And where do you start? You start with the football program, and then everything feeds off of that. And, Brad's going to turn that around fast. And, you look at Pulaski Academy, you look at Little Rock Christian, well-funded. They're going to have players. They're going to do things. Once they get adjusted to 7A level and the depth that it takes, and, they've been operating with 50 or 60 kids. And, they can't miss on guys. And, and Scott Reed and what he's, you look at his track record on what he's done, and Central might have some of the best young athletes in the state of Arkansas. So they're not going to stay asleep forever. And, that's probably one of the most tradition-rich programs in the state of Arkansas. So, it's a tough league. It's a very athletic league. It's a very well-coached league. It's a very well-funded league. And, just like Northwest Arkansas, for a long time, Northwest Arkansas was building buildings, and they were building facilities, and they were doing all these things. And, they took their lumps, and now they're retooled what they're doing. They split their schools and all that stuff, but they're at the same size that now at one school that they were when they split. And so, the whole playing field is different. 7A football, everybody's going to have good players. Everybody's going to have good coaches. Everybody's going to have good resources. You've got to go out there and win every Friday night to be at the top of this thing. And, from the outside looking in, looking at Bryant and what they've been able to do is unbelievable. I was there when they started it, but Quad has done a hell of a job of building a program that, is at the top of the level. They've got some of the best football players. We team camp with those guys. We team camp with North Little Rock. We team camp with Parkview, and we team camp with some good football teams. And that's what I tell our players. The best players you're going to see all year, you've seen them every day in the summer. And that's been good for us. But this is a good league. It's a well-coached league, and we've got to be ready to play each time we walk out there on Friday night.
Well, you hit it. Let's talk about overall statewide a little bit. You talked about, obviously Bryant, you guys, and the Central, was really dominated, and then the West kind of made a little comeback here the last couple of years. But let's talk about it. Bentonville's up here. You played a tough Rogers team in the second round that's got everybody back. Fayetteville's throwing in a quarterback. Brett Hobbs at Springdale, Aaron Danaher at Harbor, doing good things. Bentonville West, play the young guys that are back. And then we just talked about your league. What do you see overall in the state, and what's it going to do to get the Wampus Cats to get to War Memorial Stadium?
Well, we're going to have to get bigger, faster, stronger. We're going to have to get better at what we're going to do. We have to understand our craft. And, it's the little things that are getting us beat. Taking an angle tackle on the sideline, fielding a punt, fielding a kickoff, 4th and 1. Those are things that kept us out. We're doing a good job with the big stuff. It's the little things, the little disciplines that it takes. And, you look up there in the West and, people are sleeping on Rogers. That was a good football team with a lot of guys coming back, and probably without a doubt, 2 of the best high school football players I've ever seen. And they've got a good team coming back. They've done a great job of building that program. They've been patient, and they're going to make some noise. And, Fayetteville, every year they're going to have a quarterback move in that's going to be a 5-star or 4-star. And, the worst thing probably is to be the backup quarterback going into Fayetteville your senior year in high school. But they've got guys, and, they're very athletic. They're very talented. They're well coached. Bentonville, they get resources. They've got guys coming there that help them and build. It's almost like they're private schools in the public school spectrum where they can get the guys to come in there and play. And hey, we were blessed with it last year with Grayson moving here. Sometimes you're blessed by it, and sometimes you just don't get what you need out of it. And that's the way 7A football is. And you've got to be well coached, but you've got to have guys that in depth. You've got to have guys who can make plays. You've got to have guys that coach at a high level and have high expectation for your kids. You can't peak too early. You can't go sleepwalk into the season, because you're going to load up and play a really good team again the next week. And it's a lot of fun. It's NASCAR. It's of high school football. You better be ready. You better have all your bells and whistles in a row. You got to have a great pit staff, and you got to have great drivers, but you better have some guys that behind the scenes are doing the job that makes you have a chance to be successful.
Well, and there's no doubt about that, and you've done it and know how to get there, obviously. Little coaching changes, which is something new, and just throw it out there. You've gone through coordinator changes wherever you've been, even at Fairview and one, and even Daryl Burnett was your defense coordinator. Quad came in. You kind of got the same thing. How do you adjust to that, and what's that look like?
Well, we try to hire good guys. If you look back, every defensive coordinator I've had in my coaching career has been the head coach or is a head coach. Remember I had Mark Jones, was head coach at Benton, was my defensive coordinator at Camden Fairview. Randy Harvey was the head coach at Monticello, was my defensive coordinator, and then Daryl Burnett, and then Robert Hooks, was my offensive coordinator. And I've had a lot of success, and then Quad came in there and has done a heck of a job. And, I had Kirk Bach, who could be a head coach anywhere in the state of Arkansas. And, I'm probably where I'm at because I've always had better people than me working for me. And that's really not tongue in cheek. That's the truth. And I think any head coach has got to have people that are smarter, sharper, have great vision, and be able to handle the head coach and get him to understand what they're doing is working. And I've got to be patient enough with these guys. I've got 5 guys that are under the age of 25, coaching on my staff. And, I told them, I said, it took me 38 years to get here. Y'all are here in year 1. So it's not like it used to be. It cost a lot of money to move people, you settle into a community, and then all of a sudden you try to move. It is hard with interest rates and stuff like that on coaches. And so, you have to get young guys who are looking to start their career and want to build a career, and hopefully they have great work ethic and they do the things it takes to be successful. But Ryan Howard and Trenton Ellis are my two coordinators. Ryan was the head coach at CAC at one time, and Trenton is a guy that played at Arkansas State, has never been a defensive coordinator, and he's going to be a defensive coordinator at Conway High School. But he has some energy, he has some answers, he has some vision, and he's willing to work. And let's see what that, can he be the next Quad Sanders? Can he be the next Darrell Burnett? Can he be the next Robert Hooks? I think so. We just got to have some guys to buy into that process and then let it roll with that. And, we have some young guys coming up there. I think we got one of the best offensive line coaches in the state of Arkansas with Gavin De Los Santos. And, that guy's going to be a head coach someday. So we're blessed with good coaches, and they love kids and they want to be around kids, and they're not looking at a clock. They're not punching the clock or anything like that. They're guys that were here to coach kids. They roll the sleeves up to go to work every day. And, it's been fun. It's been refreshing. And, we're going to take some blows. I promise you, you're not going to be as young as we are, coaching staff wise and player wise, and not have some, some major hiccups. But we'll be a team that's late in the year that can, blossom, come together, get better, and make a run at this thing.
Well, there's no doubt, and you know how to do it, and your program's always top notch. And well, Buck, as people don't know this. You're the first guest of the Coaches in the Mouth of all time. I mean, first guest ever, and where it's always a pleasure to have you on here. Always get big views when the great Buck James comes on here. But I appreciate you taking time with us. We'll be checking your work as always. The Mouth, you know he will be. And so
every Tuesday with the Mouth, we break bread together, and I get some intimate wisdom, and I've been blessed in many ways.
Well, no doubt. Thanks for coming on. Hey man, we'll be seeing you down the road.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
See you, buddy. Well, Brent, obviously you Coach James feels good about it. It feels like a better offensive, defensive line. A little worried about the back end. Biggest subject here, though, and we'll go around the table. Replace a lot of staff members. Got a lot of young guys, especially on defense, and that part of that's Coach James is there, but a lot of new offensive coordinator, new defense coordinator, new guys on defense. Mouth, what do you think about this 7A Central? I mean, Bryant's there at the top. Conway's been knocking on the door, the resurgence of North Little Rock, obviously. And you got PA and Christian. What's your thought process in this tough 7A Central?
That's it. This is another great conference right here. I mean, how about Coach Quad Sanders? How would you like to have his 2-year record? 23-2?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good. And plus the way he took over for Coach James, and Bryant didn't miss a beat. And I totally don't they're going to be at the top. Conway is going to be right there. We're going to have Cabot's going to be much improved. Coach Reed with his quarterback, as well as anybody, Coach Williams, when he's got a quarterback, he's got a chance. And I tell you what, I was looking at the schedule for Conway. The game of the year in Arkansas could be September the 5th versus Bentonville.
Yeah.
I mean,
travel to Bentonville.
That's going to be a good slobber knocker.
And Bryant plays Newton, Georgia that day. So
yeah.
Georgia and Bryant. So there's a lot of games. September 5th is
That's a major week.
Here's what I'm saying. Now, obviously, Bryant, I think, is at the top. Can Buck and them where they're at. I think, they got to shore up some things defensively, obviously. Little Rock Christian, but North Little Rock will be interesting. You're going to have to come in week in, and Brad will get that thing going, and they're going to have some ups and downs. But you watch for those guys about week 8, week 7. You really, where they've got it down, and they could do some damage there. All right, guys, let's head over to the 7A West. Been very interesting off season up here in the 7A West. Bentonville, what amazing job Coach Grant did last year, getting to the state finals, coming in, get beat pretty good by Conway earlier in the year, week 2 or whatever it was, and then catch them in the semis and upset Conway. Rogers is, it's quarterback league. Reagan's back at Rogers, who I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're a Central team, you don't want to catch them in the playoffs early. They're going to be a tough out. Fayetteville is the one that's interesting. The big story there is the quarterback. The Hendricks kid moves in from Texas. Unbelievable. Me and Thomas actually got to see him at a team camp, and I was, it makes all the throws, but just the way he ran the offense and the way he's grasped it. I could see Bentonville West talked to Coach Prattville. He feels like they played a young bunch last year. Springdale, Coach Hobbs, a great year last year. They're going to keep rolling. New coach at Harbor, Coach Danaher, we interviewed him earlier. Northside and Heritage. Talk to us. Let's start with you, Thomas, a little bit right here, this 7A West. I mean, Bentonville looks like they are loaded to bear, but they've got people chipping at them. Rogers, is it Rogers' time? That's the question.
I feel like last year we talked about this, and I was like, is Rogers going to do some damage? I said Rogers is going to beat Bentonville or Fayetteville, one of those two. And for the second year in a row, they had Fayetteville down, and then they ended up coming up short. But Bentonville, there's 4 teams here that can win the conference. Yeah. Bentonville West, Fayetteville, Rogers, and Bentonville. Bentonville's just so big up front.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they're feeding them up there. I mean, it's the line is so good, and that's where they make their money off of is the offensive line. And losing Danauer, the offensive coordinator, to Harbor, we'll see how that affects them. But then Rogers, Braxton Lindsay is one of my favorite guys. I mean, he is a fun guy to watch, offense and defense. The first time I saw him play, he made 3 sacks against Sheridan the first series. So they go for it, and Sheridan actually punts it. And then and then the first play he scores a touchdown on receiving. I'm like, this guy's had a 4-play stretch with 3 sacks and a touchdown. Yeah, he's one of my favorite players to watch. But Fayetteville Hendricks is unbelievable. Now we saw two balls hit the ground. They're both drops at the team camp at Greenwood. I think if he can stay healthy, the Fayetteville can beat anybody. They're going to pass the ball 55 times a game.
And Fayetteville's got 2 new guys on their defensive staff. Lost co-defense coordinator Devontae Britt, went and got administration in Bentonville, bringing Clayton Pankey, former defense coordinator at Conway, plus added former head coach at Siloam, a legendary coach in Brandon Craig in Oklahoma. They're coaching on defense. So those little factors. Talking about Buck's staff, they've got change in staff also. Daryl, what's your breakdown on this 7A West?
Well, I think it's Bentonville's to drop here because here's the funny thing is, they're 1-5 in the last 2 years in non-conference games.
Yeah.
They've actually survived. They don't even, like non-conference games. Hey, we're not ready to play yet. Who cares? They're just kind of wad those up. So I think that, and that's a testament to Coach Grant, because trying to rally a team after 0-3 start is pretty tough. I'm sure. I'm sure he wouldn't want it, a different way there. But I think Bentonville. I loved Rogers last year. I love him again. Coach Harbinson, that guy's 34-15 at Rogers. Yeah. I mean, that hadn't happened since Coach Peacock back in the day. I mean, they have become relevant. That quarterback is just Jeff Regan is. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's so fun to watch. It's like a little Monza. He's just unbelievable. He's like watching the guy that plays for the Arizona Cardinals right now. I mean, he's just he's a phenomenal player. And then like the Lindsay kid, I mean, he does so many things for him. It's unbelievable. So I think Rogers is ready to take the next step. Maybe they're the ones that challenge Bentonville. But of course, you've got to still, figure Fayetteville. Coach Dick's got a quarterback. That's usually all he needs. I mean, and the way it sounds is if they get anybody to catch that sucker, which is going to be right on top of you, they're going to be right in games too. So, it's the usual suspects in that league. I think Bentonville West is probably ready to make a move. It's one of those teams, kind of how Rogers started out with. Remember a couple years ago, he was playing like anybody that was a sophomore. I'm playing them. And I remember watching them play at Conway one year in the playoffs, and I thought, this is a junior high team. And then he grew that program into where they are now. So I still think it starts with Bentonville and ends with Bentonville. I think that's a big challenge for them. And then you look at Bentonville's, schedule and how it opens up is pretty phenomenal. And then, all those guys play somebody in the West. So it's going to be a battle, but I think Bentonville's going to win the West.
Well, let's do this before I go to mouth. Let's go ahead and bring on head coach from Bentonville, Coach Jody Grant.
I appreciate you having me on today.
Well, let's get right into it. I mean, let's kind of recap a little bit last year. I mean, you guys, we just were doing our preseason show. Somebody put out a stat. Y'all been 1-5 in non-conference, and that tells us which we'll get to in a little bit about that non-conference schedule. You guys start also, but you get your team playing at the right time last year. Uh, Go to come in Conway. Y'all lost them week 2. Turn around, beat them in the semis, and really, as the mouth described, is without 2 great plays for Bryant's quarterback on long distance situations, that game might be totally different also. But that's last year, and you've got to replace a lot of guys moving in. You're ranked number 2 overall in Hootens, number 1 in the coaches poll in the 7A West. You got 4 guys back on offense, 7 back on defense. Let's talk about your team this year. It's every year's changed. It doesn't matter if you got them all back. Things are going to change, but you've got to replace some guys on offense, but you usually do anyway. Talk to us a little bit about your group.
Yeah, I love this group. It's a really talented group. We had a wonderful offseason. I think this might be one of the fastest and strongest teams we've had in a long time, which that's usually a good combination when it comes to football. And but we got to replace a lot of guys. We got to replace our quarterback. Trevor Grant's moving on, and so we've got a young man that's got some experience. Started 2 games as a sophomore, played a little bit last year as a junior, played some crucial times early on as a junior, and had a really good season as a JV quarterback for us. And his name's Cole Slepecki. Big arm, smart kid, will do a great job. And then all 5 offensive linemen have to be replaced, which you know how that goes. It's always tough. But listen, we do that same thing every year. And I would have said the same thing last year. It's like we'll go as this offensive line allows us to go. And they had a really good year. So I feel like we could say the same thing. It's a young group. Well, I say young. There's some seniors in there, but it's inexperienced. But they did play in some games and got some experience. Our receiving corps is extremely talented. It's got to be one of the best in the state. We returned Blair Irvin III, who's an all-state football player. Conrad Schmitz was a 7A West all-conference performer. Jack Dunn, also another all-conference performer. And then we added Daquan Prevost from Liberty Isle, Texas, moved in. So he's a Razorback commit. So you got those 4, and that doesn't even, we've still got a young man named Caden Brown that's joined our program, and several others to make up our weapons as a receiver. And then I think we got one of the top backs in the state, Chris Ficklin. He's been a 3-year starter for us, top back in the conference last year, 2-time starter in the state championship game. So offensively, you got to feel good about that. We're moving a couple of dudes around at tight end to try to replace a 3-time All-State player in Eli Brooks, who's going to Harding. That'll be hard to replace what he did for us. But we're excited about where we're at offensively and some of these guys that we got coming up.
Well, let's get into it a little bit. Let's get in that non-conference schedule. We just hit it. I mean, you guys played, bar none, the toughest non-conference schedule in the state. I mean, open up with Tulsa Union, who's been a power for years. Got Conway. They're coming to you this year in the regular season. And then Lee Summit, Missouri, who's a powerhouse in Missouri. You guys have done that for years and loaded it up. And you can see how your teams gets better. But talk to us a little bit about those first 3 and just, getting yourself ready for this stuff. 7A West, which I think is a lot big time improved, and it's going to be very tough. So talk to us a little bit about your non-con.
Yeah, so I always talk about this. I think the formula for success is a tough non-conference, and a lot of people don't love that. Sometimes in our community they don't love it if we're 1-2 and 0-3. But I think the formula, we can argue that it works. We're not trying to go 1-3. We're not trying to go 1-2, but we're trying to schedule really good teams that prepare us for the conference. We took Tulsa Union to overtime at our place. Really, that was a game that could have gone either way. We went to Conway, and just truthfully, something that we don't do very often is lay an egg, and we absolutely laid an egg. We looked bad in all 3 phases, but that was a really big learning opportunity for our kids. We went into the bye week and then went to a really talented number 1 ranked team in Missouri, hadn't been beaten years, played probably one of our best games, had a lead with 8 minutes left to go in the 4th quarter. They had a young man on that team that was one of the top players in the country, signed with Nebraska. He kind of took over that game. We didn't have anybody in our town that could tackle him. And he came in, he kind of finished the game strong. But I'll be honest with you, as a staff and the fan base that was there, I remember walking off that field to kind of like a little standing ovation from our fan base. And that's odd after a loss, but they were all smart enough to recognize that we're a dang good football team, and they appreciated our kids' efforts. Although we are sitting at 0-3, they appreciated our kids' efforts and the gauntlet of the non-conference we had just went through. And then we talked to our kids like, this is preparing you for the conference play, and we ended up winning 9 in a row after that, and had a chance to win a state championship, and just things didn't go our way.
Well, you did, and let's get into this 7A West a little bit. We've been studying, looking at it. Rogers is probably at the pinnacle. Right there, they're cracking at the. They're these guys have been playing. They're low to go. You're familiar with them. Got two really great players. They got a lot of good players. Fayetteville with the big time quarterback moving in really makes them a difference maker. Sitting over at Bentonville West, played a lot of young people last year. We got Brett Hobbs is building over here at Springdale. One of your former assistants, Aaron Danhauer, we'll get into that a little bit at Harbor. And, Northside and Heritage. It looks like, and we talked about this the last couple of years, the 7A West is really, I mean, from top to bottom is getting where, the Central kind of was there, and it's kind of getting evened out. Talk to us a little bit about your conference and just your thought process through this tough 7A West.
Yeah, well, we've said this for the last few years, is the 7A West is going to have to get better for us to win championships. And you can see with what we've done, and Fayetteville won it a few years back, beat us. We're getting in there and doing some things. There for a few years, it was all Central all the time, and so I think we've made great strides. Now we got to get over the hump. First of all, I think 7A West is one of the best coached conferences there is. You don't ever play a team that's just not well coached. And then usually, majority of those teams have got some really nice talent in it too. You talked about Rogers, two of the best players in the conference, together on that offense makes them, they got a chance to score every time they snap the football. So I look for them to have another really good year. And then I agree with you about Fayetteville. The addition of that quarterback, he's gifted. I think when his time at Fayetteville's done, we'll probably talk about him being one of the top quarterbacks that's ever played the state. I've had a chance to see him a few times, and just he doesn't miss. He's smart. He's got great leadership, good composure. Body language is good and clean. He's got, obviously, Fayetteville's always going to provide skill guys around a good quarterback. So, and they'll do a great job. Bentonville West played a lot of young guys last year. I know they didn't have the year that they would have liked, but experience means a lot. And so they're going to come into this year with a lot of confidence. Obviously, Brett Hobbs and what he did last year was really, really special for that. That's a first time in several years that they've hosted a playoff game. And, what you and I remember as Springdale is, back when they were so dominant. So, I'm a fan of Springdale in a sense of, like, I want to see them get there. I love Brett Hobbs. I like the way they're trending. I think he does a good job with this program. Northside hiring a new coach. Excited to see what they'll do down there. That they're going to have talent. And it's just a matter of putting it all together. Heritage each year, continues to work hard to build their program. And then, Harbor, Harbor was a really good offensive team last year. I mean, they scored on everybody. And so it's not like, to me, Harbor's not like a team that is just in the gutters. They should be a contender pretty quick. I mean, Coach Denenauer is a really good coach. Obviously, he's a really good friend of mine. He's ready for this. He's been groomed for this. I'm excited for him and see how this goes. I think he'll put together really nice game plans, and he's got a good staff he's put together. So I see Harbor getting in the mix and maybe beating somebody that people see they're not supposed to. But it won't be easy for anybody. There's no cupcake games in 7A West, and that's what we need it to be.
Well, and you hit that. Let's hit before we talk about overall state-wise. Aaron Danhauer, your longtime offensive coordinator, goes over to Harbor. What are we doing replacing? Those staff changes people don't talk about a lot, but those can be subtle change. What are y'all's situation? What did y'all do?
Yeah, so I've known for a long time that Aaron Danner was going to be a head coach somewhere someday, and so as a coach, you always have to have a plan. So, and listen, I'll be honest with you, when this job opened up for him, I encouraged him to go after it. I mean, he's had opportunities, he was ready. You don't want to take any job, you want to take the right job, and I felt like this was a really nice fit for him. The tradition at Harbor is still really good. It's just had a few down years, and he can get it back. But sometimes change within a staff I've had my staff together for a long time. I've made a few changes here or there, but I think sometimes change within the staff is a good thing. And I think it was a good time for us to do it. I was able to move some of my guys around. I promoted my receivers coach. Rod Washington, who's been with me for, as long as I've been there. He was with Coach Loney before, before I took over, worked with him then. And then when I took over as the head coach, he stayed on as our receiver coach. Has been great. He'll call plays for us. Our kids were excited about that. He's well respected amongst our staff and our players. I mean, I made that. I had that decision made 5 minutes after Harbor announced Aaron as the head coach. But what I did do, what I felt like we needed in our program, was a good young quarterback coach, guy who's been there and done that. And I had a few guys on my radar, and the number one guy on my list was Ty Story, former Arkansas, Western Kentucky quarterback, kind of been in our league a little bit, floating around, but was able to steal him and get him over here. And he's been awesome for our quarterbacks, and just the knowledge that he can help us with our offensive side of the ball has been good. So I would say it's been a good, I mean, obviously we loved having Aaron Danenauer, and we're all for him and supportive of him, but the change for us has been good, and we're excited about what this going to kind of look like.
Well, let's hit the state part, which, those changes are big, and, coach, and moving those guys around. Guys been in your system, they're going to know. I mean, it's smooth transition over there as always. Let's talk about overall state-wise. I mean, I think, we're looking at this, you guys, I've got to see you this summer, your team's got a lot of confidence. I mean, in a good way. Is you can see they feel good about themselves. You got Fayetteville there, Rogers in the mix up here. Then you go down in the Central. There's Big Bad Bryant still sitting there. Somebody's got to knock them off, and they feel like Quad feels like he's going to be better. Buck sitting there at Conway year 3 where they're at. Little Rock Christian looks like they've gotten the mold into 7A. I've seen them this summer. Cabot and Brad Boating back at North Little Rock. A lot of different parts, PA. Where's the Bentonville Tigers? They're always going to be in the mix overall in the state, but what do you got to do to get to War Memorial?
Well, here's what I'll say. We've been at War Memorial 3 straight years, and it's never been easy. I mean, we've had to have a lot of luck go our way, and a lot of things. We kick a field goal 3 years ago as time expires to beat, I think it was Cabot. Then we go to Bryant and beat a very talented Bryant team. Which not many people can say they're beating that team. And then we had to come back. We had a 4th and 15 conversion with 53 seconds left with no timeouts to go down and kick a field goal from a kicker who had already missed an extra point in that game to beat Conway. So I'm telling you, you got to have some luck to get there. We got to continue to be lucky in moments like that. But really, it really boils down, and I would say this to anybody who's asked me, it's you got to be playing your best football weeks 9, 10, and through the playoffs. What happens in the non-conference prepares you for the conference, but you better win the month of October, and you better be playing your best football in November and December. And obviously, we got to have our guys stay healthy. But we know we know what Bryant brings to the table. Bryant is the team to beat, and they're not going away, and they're not taking a back seat to anybody. Obviously, Buck James has always done a great job wherever he's been, but Conway's very talented, and they'll continue to be somebody to contend. Scott Reed, who I think is one of the best coaches in the state, he'll put together a great team, and they'll do good things. Obviously, North Little Rock, with the talent they have there, with getting Coach Golding back and just trying to change the culture there. Pulaski Academy, Little Rock Christian, what a tough conference that is over there too. And just like I said over here, there's no cupcakes in that deal. I mean, you better strap them on every Friday night. I had a chance to see Little Rock Christian in 7-on-7, and I mean, they have dudes everywhere, and Pulaski Academy as well. They do such a good job. So it's going to be fun. What an opportunity for fans and the state of Arkansas to see watch Class 7A football throughout the year, because it's good football teams everywhere.
There's no doubt about that. Who is scrimmaging? And I'll get you off here.
Yeah, so we went ahead, even though we have the toughest non-conference in the world, we went ahead and decided to go 2 Jinx to scrimmage the Jinx Trophy. So instead of just 3 brutal non-conference, we went ahead and threw in another one. I don't know what I'm thinking, but we'll see how that plays out.
Well, hey, if you're going to play them hard, but get them all hard. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
That's the way it is. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking time with us, man. And obviously, you're going to be right in the mix, and we'll have you back on during the season. Good luck to you. You guys stay healthy, and we'll see you down the road.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.
Well, you can see Coach Grant feels very confident. It's good move-ins also, and we'll get Thomas on that here in a minute. But Mouth, I mean, you know the league pretty good. Your thought of the 7A West, Mike?
First of all, let me say it's incredible how Fayetteville gets quarterbacks.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
It's
unbelievable.
That is phenomenal. And
You mean a former Razorback quarterback? Y'all are surprised you can get some good quarterbacks?
yeah,
Well, it all starts with being able to find a place to live. At Lindsay and Associates provides. It's always a nice place to live if you want to be a golfer. Or, if your dad is a CEO at Bentonville Walmart, base. I don't know how that happens, but yeah, it's a great place to live at. Yeah, we know a guy.
All right, Mal, keep going.
all right. This 7A West is phenomenal. The Rogers program is at a level I don't know that anybody thought it would ever be at right now. Then Fayetteville's right there. But I tell you, over last year, Coach Grant's son got Coaches of the Mouth Player of the Week last week, and went up to Bentonville, and it's just phenomenal up there. They've got everything you could possibly want, and I went and saw them play the second game against Conway, and when I went up to Bentonville, I told Coach Grant, I said, after I saw you play Conway, I said, I don't know if these guys are going to win a game. And then all of a sudden, Coach Grant does Coach Grant things, and they kick it into gear after a 1-2 start, and they're in the state championship, and they're right there to beat Bryant. If Bryant's quarterback does not make 2 unbelievable throws in the final 6 minutes of the game. So Fayetteville, Coach Dick does a great job, but I still think it is it's Bentonville's conference to win till somebody can knock them off.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's start. Daryl, come back to you. We get the playoffs here. What are you seeing in 7A? I mean, obviously Bryant, Bentonville, and Rogers, Conway, Fayetteville, West, PA, Christians, you can name them all. What are you seeing here?
Well, you got to see what Rogers is about. Can Rogers bust into the top 4? Can they take out Fayetteville in that one? That's going to be the big battle. We'll find out early. North Little Rock travels to Rogers and starts out right off the bat. But so we'll see them firsthand, or I will. And then you still got like Bentonville West. Are they ready to make a jump? Cabot, you got a team out. Coach Reed. I mean, do we count them out? I'm sure not going to pick them to beat Fayetteville again. I can tell you that. But I mean, does he have enough play there to get into it and make some noise there and try to get in that top 4? You count out Pulaski Academy because of the quarterback situation, but they've always had quarterbacks. I mean, they're going to figure it out. So who's going to be in that 4th spot? Who's going to be, Bryant? I think Bryant and Bentonville, and then from 3 down, I think that's just a race to see what happens there. And who stays healthy is the biggest thing too. And that, first games, what's the most important thing? Coach Williams, Hall of Fame coach Jeff Williams. What's the most important thing the first 3 weeks?
Special teams, baby. You got to work.
And what else?
Teams.
What else? Hydration.
Hydration.
You got to have hydration.
We can't have cramps this year, guys.
Yes.
We're
You
can't
cannot
get off this cramp. It killed us last year earlier. I mean, we got picks to make here, man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You get your team in shape, crying out loud.
We're dependent on them kids. Yeah, we got to get hydrated up, man.
Well,
that's how I see it.
You got to get hydrated, no doubt. Well, Thomas, let's hit over here with you a little bit to wrap this up. What are you seeing? You obviously got Bryant 1, Bentonville 2, and it looks like a collision course, but there's things that could go on in between here. I mean,
yeah. I think it's probably a 5-team race. You got Bryant, Conway out of the Central, it's Bryant, Conway, PA, Little Rock Christian. Then you got Bentonville, Rogers, and Fayetteville, I think, that are probably going to come out of the top 3. Bentonville West could sneak in there. But so if you're looking at Bentonville will have a rematch probably with Conway in the semis again. And so you look at this week 2 game for this, or maybe week 2, the September 5th game when Yeah, when Conway comes up to Bentonville, then if you're going to get Fayetteville or Rogers going to Bryant in the semis, and I think that's going to be a huge matchup. So look for those. Those are the 5 teams I think can really make a play.
I agree with it. Mouth, what's your take here? Overall 7A, who you like your top 2 right now?
My top 2 are the 2 teams that played in the state championship last year, Bryant and Bentonville.
Wow.
Till somebody, I mean, that surprises you,
Yeah.
right?
No,
That they're my favorite.
yeah.
It's been the same way till somebody proves they can knock them off. Conway needs to take that next step. They've been to the semifinals. How many 5 years in a row?
Yeah.
5 years in a row. It's time for the Wampus Cats to step on up and make a run at it if they can.
Well, I see it also, but I think Bryant, until somebody knocks them off, that's the deal. But look out for Bentonville, look out for Rogers and Conway too. It'll be interesting who can stay healthy. Well, guys, I tell you what, we wrapped up our preseason show. It's going to be an outstanding season. We're getting that week too, that September 5th. There's going to be loads of games because every team we talked about is going through. There's going to be a lot of games. Well, we'll have our show. They'll come out every Thursday, and check out Hootens. They've got a whole new thing going on over there with their website and a lot of information out there, and we look forward to it. Look forward to a great show this year. Well, for Coach Jeff Williams, Coach Daryl Fimple, the Mouth Brent Bender, and our guest picker, Thomas Thrash, we'll see you next time.